M. Shawish has taken the lead as they come into the final 16th. And it is M. Shawish coming to the wire, the winner of the Gun Handicap.
Bobby Shoemaker, Andrew Calvano. It's Tournament Talk on the Tournament Edge. For the final Friday in March, we've got a jam-packed weekend of spectacular horse racing. So we're going to do 5 races this week. 3 at Fairgrounds, 1 at Gulfstream Park. We're going to end things in Maidan for the world's richest race. But Andrew, let's kick things off at Gulfstream Park in Hollandale Beach. It's race 11 on the card. It's a 1-mile turf event for 3-year-old fillies. It's a Santa Bell Island handicap. It's a field of 12. The 6-horse Lyra is your 2-to-1 morning line favorite, and deservedly so, considering it's Todd Pletcher and Luis Saez.
Yeah, and Bob, first thing I noticed when I opened up the PPs in this race was just a load of speed. I can see 6 or 7 horses fighting for the lead, so I'm definitely looking for a horse that's going to come late. Maybe a couple, lengths off the lead, but really I think there's going to be so much chasing that you really want a horse that's going to come far off the lead. The horse I went to is number 11, Pulled the Goalie at 12-1 with Edgar Zayas up. If you watch the last race at Gulfstream Park on February 27th, 5th place effort behind Catch a Glimpse and Lyra, who's also entered here. It's not that bad. It actually looked pretty well. So couldn't catch Lyra, couldn't catch a Glimpse, but I mean those are 2 of the best 3-year-old fillies on the turf in this year. Struggle with Stakes Company, yes, you can knock her on that, but she's ran into Catch a Glimpse 3 times.
Right.
So that Catch a Glimpse entered here. I'm hoping that this overnight stakes is a little bit of softer company for her, and she can blow by. If you look 2 back, January 10th, 85 buyer, fits well with Lyra and Harmonize, who's your other favorite. Just raw talent, beyond impressive in that race. And I honestly think a repeat of that race is going to be good enough to beat her.
Yeah, I read this race the same way you did, Andrew. I mean, it's a ton of speed in here. The 8-horse Pancake, the 10-horse Silky Girl, the 5-horse Sky My Sky, they all have shown exemplary speed at 7.5 furlongs. So if they show it at that distance, they're certainly going to show it at a mile. Lyra's going to be overbet, and I think Lyra is not going to even warrant the price in which that horse is going to go off at. Yes, the horse has class. Yes, the horse is trained by Todd Pletcher. Yes, Pletcher going to his 3rd guy in Luis Saez when Javier and Johnny V aren't in town. But I think the 11 can certainly win this race, and that's my top selection as well for the similar reasons as you mentioned. You go 2 starts back, that horse is a player. In fact, how I calculate things, that horse ran the fastest race of any horse in this field 2 starts back. The last race, you can throw it out. I don't think the horse got a very good trip. Corey didn't get after the horse at all early. The horse was 8.5 lengths off the lead. I watched the video this morning, and it seemed like he didn't try after that. It seems like he just kind of wrapped her up. And I think that with a better trip, and obviously when you're talking about a closer, things need to work out perfectly, and you need to get lucky, as if we're not trying to get lucky every time we bet a race to begin with. But really going to need to get lucky here with a good trip from the outside post at Gulfstream Park. But the way I look at it from a tournament perspective is this. If the 6 wins, no harm, no foul. The 11 has as much upside, in my opinion, from what I've seen of the races run by both the 6 and 11. The 11 can win this race at what will probably be double-digit odds. If not, 8 or 9-1 at worst. And I'm being conservative, Andrew, when I say that. I think it's 6-11 or 11-6. And why not go with the horse that's going to be exponentially higher from an odds perspective? One horse I did want to mention that I did vaguely mention earlier is the 10-horse Silky Girl scares me, Andrew. The reason I say that is because this horse is trained by Bill Mott, 2nd off the layoff, 3rd off the trainer change. First time under the Mott barn, was in a stakes race, had trouble early, checked out, off the lay. Then he puts her in a 7.5 furlong race. And you know as well as I do, Mott has no problem throwing in the towel in a race to prep a horse for something bigger. This
Exactly.
obviously is something bigger. This horse scares me. Do not leave this horse out of your exotics in any stretch of the imagination, whether it be a pick 4 or whether it be a pick 5 or a trifecta, superfecta. Big price here. This horse scares me. But in the end, I think the horse will be compromised from the pace that you and I both see. I think the 11 horse, Pull the Goalie at 12-1 morning line, is absolutely the play in any type of tournament.
Yeah, and I agree, Bob. I mean, like I said, you know me. I always handicap the races the night before without the odds. I try to make my own odds. I was pretty close on Lira. I had like 8-5, 9-5. I think this horse just goes off at even money at this point.
Absolutely.
Harmonize is going to take some money too, but I'm not interested in the horse coming off that layoff, though Bill Mott is to be respected. And like you said, Silky Girl is very fast. You can't leave her off. But I think, Bobby, when it comes down to it, you and I are on the exact same horse, and that's going to be the best horse for tournaments, horizontals, and straight-up wagering.
I couldn't agree more. So let's go to Fairgrounds, where we're going to spend most of our time on this show. And by the way, I raved last week to you, Andrew, about Oaklawn Park and their card. This card is even better. We've got competitive turf racing, competitive dirt racing, and we're going to start things off race 8. It's the Munez Memorial Handicap. It's a grade 2 event, mile and 1/8 on the turf, 4-year-olds and up, a field of 11, and the ultra classy and understandably so favorite is Chocolate Ride, the 4-horse. This horse has won, I believe, 6 races in a row at Fairgrounds, has done it one way, wire to wire. You're going to have to beat him from the front end. Who have you found that can upset the apple cart in this race?
Yeah, Bob, and Chocolate Ride's definitely going to be tough to beat, and I don't even think he goes off anywhere near 5-2. I think this is a 4-5, maybe even money horse. But hoping because of that I can get a little higher price on my horse, I looked at the 10, World Approval, at 9-2 from Mark Cassidy and Julian Leperoux. Second start off a 5-month layoff and really looks to be in peak form. And off that layoff, wins last time out in a $100,000 optional claimer at Gulfstream Park in wire-to-wire fashion. Mark Cassie's good off the layoff, but he's not great. So it's not like an automatic thing as it would be with Tom Pletcher or somebody else. But just a great score, a 99 buyer coming back on that. And honestly could be the only one contesting Chocolate Ride on the front end. So obviously that race was a prep to get back to graded company. Definitely overperformed, I think, in Mark Cassie's eyes. Ships here 3 weeks later. Gets the hottest turf jockey right now, Bobby. There's nobody hotter than Julian Leperoux.
None.
And, Bob, when we talk about the sport of horse racing, and obviously, we need horses that can do this, like Chocolate Ride, that can win X amount of races in a row just to better our sport. I just don't know if Chocolate Ride can go this long without a bounce race. And, as sick as it may sound, because we want the benefit of the sport, I'm kind of hoping there's a bounce race here just for, horizontal purposes, wagering purposes, whatever it may be.
Right.
And I think I'm going to land on a pretty good horse in World Approval.
I think World Approval is a major player. The problem is I don't think you're going to sniff 9-2. From what I've read, from the things I'm reading, not only PPs, but also other handicappers that I pay close attention to, this seems to be the quote-unquote wise guy horse. Yeah. Back to Chocolate Ride, couldn't agree with you more. This horse is good for the sport. It's a fun story. I mean, 6 in a row at one racetrack, just going to the front end saying, catch me if you can, and nobody's been able to do so. The reason I'm playing against this horse today is not only because the horse is eligible for a bounce, and all horses are eligible for a bounce. I mean, we even saw American Pharaoh, as historically great as he is, lose a race at Saratoga, which on paper, there was no way he was going to lose that race.
Exactly.
The thing that I've noticed about Chocolate Ride, albeit the last 3 efforts have been completely stellar, is that he's had it his own way on the front end every single time, at least a length early in every single quarter of the race, going moderate fractions. And if you give a classy horse like this those type of fractions early, there's no chance that you're going to beat this horse. I think this is the best field that this horse has faced in 2016. And I also believe that there's 2 horses in this race, including the 1 horse that's going to give Chocolate Ride company early. So with that being said, I ended up landing on the 5-horse Closing Bell at 8-1 morning line. I wouldn't call it a tepid pick, but it's certainly not going to bet this horse at the window. I do believe that the best race run in this entire field was November 28th in the Hollywood Derby by this horse, in which it loses by 3 lengths to Chiropractor, another horse we all know in March, another horse in Ohm who took a lot of money a couple of weeks ago in a big-time race on the turf at Santa Anita. I mean, Mott thought enough of this horse to put the horse in the Don handicap on the dirt last time out. So you know the talent is there. I just look for this horse to set a good trip if the 4 is compromised, maybe setting that middle tier 4 or 5 lengths back. If Chocolate Ride does have that bounce race, or if there is company early like I expect, maybe Lascano can make that 1 run, turn it for home, beat the dead closers, and pay a decent price. I think this horse should not be 8-1. I can't get a good feel for what this horse is going to go off at. But I think this horse is a major player, especially if the best horse in the race does get compromised and softened up through the first couple of fractions or a couple of quarters of this race.
Without a doubt, Bob. And, Closing Bell really has everything from a pace standpoint. Definitely has everything going with them. Should Chocolate Ride be compromised on the front end? So if that's the case today, then Closing Bell is definitely going to be a major factor turning for home. And a $400,000 purchase at a Tapit, the connections want to see more out of the horse, and this is a good spot for him.
Yeah,
so definitely a player.
And again, I'll pound home the fact that Mott is a very conservative trainer. He doesn't put horses in spots in which he doesn't think they can win, exception for prep races. We understand that. Yeah, he wouldn't throw this horse in the Don handicap just to say he put a horse in the Don handicap. He meant business with that horse, thinking that horse had a chance against horses like Shawish and Valid. This horse has a ton of talent. If the pace sets up for him, which I think it may, I think the horse has got a big chance to win this race. So we're going to move on to Fairgrounds Race 10. It's the big one in North America for this week. It's the Grade 2 TwinSpires.com Louisiana Derby. It's 100 Kentucky Derby points to the winner. It's 50 points to second, 20 for third. It's a field of 11 in Motom. The 6-horse is your 5-2 morning line favorite. Take it away, Andrew.
And Bob, looking at this race, I just think there's so much more uncovered than the top 3 horses. Who, I'm talking about Gunrunner, Greenpoint, Crusader, and of course Motom. All very good horses, but I think there's just a little something more in this race. I don't know if these horses are in top form like a Mohayman or a Nyquist on the Kentucky Derby Trail. So this looks to me like my one last shot to go get a big price in a Kentucky Derby prep race. And with that said, the longest shot of the day that I just cannot wait for is number 8, Uncle Walter. The distance is still a question. I understand that, but this one has every single reason to improve. Thrown out the last race in the Risen Star, just bumped really hard out of the gate, set up all the way outside, 6 wide into the front first turn. Throws the blinkers on today and gets Robbie Alvarado, who does very well at the circuit. And I expect this one to be right off the pace setters and come right down the stretch, turning for home. And if you look back, the late comp looked best in the stretch. Just absolutely looked like the winner, but Motom came flying down that 3-path in the middle stretch and won the race. And if you want to look yourself further into that race, Destin finished 4th. So Destin came back, wins the Sam F. Davis, and wins the Tampa Bay Derby. And obviously you can say the same thing for horses like Motom and other runners in that race. But I think that just goes to prove the point that Uncle Walter's not a horse to throw out today. And, the same angle that helped us get Cupid home last week, the Ramseys and Mike Maker have won this race the last 2 years in a row. So if that's something that's going to hold here, I think 20-1 is a huge price and definitely a tournament play.
Well, anytime that you land on a horse that Mike Watchmaker is very high on, then you certainly know you're doing something right. I watched earlier today Watchmaker with Matt Bernier, and he's a big fan of this horse and thinks this horse is a major player and did not benefit from what he felt like was an inside track bias last time out and what I believe was a graded stakes race that my top selection was in, including several others in here, and that was Candy My Boy, the 5-horse at 15-1 morning line. Now look, As I mentioned, the verdict's been out that there was an inside bias that day. But I went back and watched this race 2 different occasions today to make sure I wasn't seeing something that others weren't. This horse broke from the 13 hole being a front runner. Now, that's obviously not ideal for a horse that wants to be on the front end with other speed at the inside of him, breaking from the 13 post. This horse breaks from the 13, goes straight to the lead. What I have here in my numbers went 22 and 4/5, 46 and 1/5, 111 and change, and did it on the front end by himself doing all the dirty work. And quite frankly, didn't think the horse needed to go that fast. I thought it was a poor ride from the jockey. Thought the jock could have slowed things down just a tad bit, and this horse may have finished better than 2 and I believe a quarter lengths off the lead and finishing 4th. Maybe there was an inside track bias that day, Andrew. Maybe there was a quote-unquote golden rail. But how I like to do things, there is no way I can let this horse go off anywhere near 15-1, go to the front end, and steal this thing. I don't like this field. I don't think anything from this race, other than maybe the 9, Dazzling Gem, has a bright future on any Triple Crown trail. Therefore, I'm more willing to take a price horse on the front end to steal things and win me a tournament or put me in position to win a big tournament than settle for something off the pace at a low price. I hear people raving about Moton, telling me that he got the worst trip. Well, here's why he got a bad trip. Because closers find trouble. That's what they do. Everything needs to benefit them. What did I say to you earlier about the 11 horse that we decided on at Gulfstream Park? We need to get lucky. And closers coming from off of it find trouble constantly. So if you want to put your money on Motom at that price, he is talented. But no thank you. So I'm going to land on 15-1 horse, Candy My Boy. If that horse did not just benefit from the inside rail, if the horse is actually that good, this horse can win this race. And I'm hoping Francisco can pull the horse about 3 lengths slower than what he was last time out. If that's the case, I think this horse is going to win and pay a monster price. So we're going to move on to Fairgrounds Race 13. It's a $42,000 allowance race for 4-year-olds and up. It's a mile on the turf, Andrew, for fillies and mares. A very large field, which makes for a great betting race. A field of 14 in Sweet Acclaim. The 12th horse is your 3-1 morning line favorite. And Andrew, we haven't talked about many vulnerable favorites to this point. We had a lot last week. I don't see it. I mean, layoff, numbers don't fit here in my opinion. I guess the horse has been made the morning line favorite because of the hot pace that looks to be there on paper. But again, I think there's some other horses that you can find from off the pace, if that's the way you want to go, that are better than the 12th horse at 3-1 morning line.
Without a doubt, Bob, and we're very surprised that this one's your 3-1 morning line favorite. And I mean, it just has to be because of Brad Cox and Florent Giroux on the turf. I mean, nothing to knock there, but this horse hasn't won a North American race, and he's also coming in off a 1.5-year long layoff.
Unreal.
That's something I throw out immediately. And, you know, should the horse win the race, then, you know what, I was wrong, whatever. But that's just not a horse I'm looking to bet. And with that said, Bob, I look to number 3, Sunset Knoll, morning line 10-1. Comes in off a 4-month layoff, and although these type of horses, they may need one here and there, I think this horse can flat out win today. I don't think anybody wants to lead in this race, so if Francisco Torres sends this one out right to the lead, she should see no other horse in front of her, and goes from a low percentage barn to the best barn here at Fairgrounds, who excels with new runners clicking at 20%. I just think this horse steals this one in the front end, Bob.
Well, Andrew, we landed on the same horse. But my fear is this. I read the race completely different from a pace perspective. I read that there were a lot of horses stretching out in distance that had shown some pretty decent speed at 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs, and as we've talked about this is the third week in a row that we've talked about this. I think horses that show speed at 6 are certainly going to show speed at a mile, and there are several in here that I think do that. And I'm worried that the 3 may be caught up in a pace battle. The difference is, it goes back to, can the horse rate a tiny bit? I'm not asking to set 3-4 lengths off because I know that's not this horse's skill set. But if this horse can just not get caught up in some kind of deadly pace battle up front, I think the horse has proven throughout the fall meet last year at Churchill Downs, which I thought was the best fall meet in the country, that this horse can be very competitive. I think the horse has a deceivingly good class edge on this field. And if you go back to the races at Keeneland and the race at Churchill Downs, or throw away the race November 26th where Drew the 12 post hung wide. You go back to the race prior to that Churchill Downs and the one before that at Keeneland. This horse has shown more talent than anybody else in the field. The problem is this, as you mentioned. Best barn at Fairgrounds. First off the claim, the numbers jump off the page. 10-1 morning line. You see us getting anywhere close to that?
Bob, to be honest, when I looked at it and I said, okay, here's the top trainer at Fairgrounds. Here's his percentage. First time as a new runner. I put him at 5-1. That's why I jumped at it at 10-1. So honestly, I'm just kind of hoping. This horse is going to get better. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
But if we land on 7-1, Bob, I'm so happy with that.
7-1. I'm hammering this horse at the window. I'm sticking with the horse from a tournament play perspective, no matter what, unless I'm way out of it, because I think this horse is the best horse in the race. But from a window wagering perspective, I'm an odds better. So you've got to be cognizant of what you find to be return on investment. You're telling me I'm getting 7-1 on that horse? I'm hammering that horse at the window because I think this horse is the best horse in the race and the most talented horse. Again, I'm just afraid of getting caught up in some kind of pace duel. But if you don't believe that, it makes me feel a little bit better. I just don't want to see the horse kill itself early because if it doesn't, it's going to win the race.
Exactly. And another thing to note, Bob, is all the horses, 9.5 length defeats, 4.25 length defeats, whatever it may be, they've all come on wet turf tracks. Now, obviously, there's not that much difference between a firm and a good turf course. It's not like a firm and a yielding turf course. But if the horse does like a firm turf course, and that's what she gets this Saturday, then even better, because that's where she runs best.
Your thoughts on Walking the Kitten, who I expect to be the favorite for two reasons. Javier Castellano, the best jockey in the country, and Michael Maker, who's one of the best trainers in the country, specifically at Gulfstream Park this meet, but travels to Fairgrounds, puts Javi on the horse, ran a very good race, first time off of a 166-day layoff at this racetrack. Is this the horse you fear the most?
Fear the most, yes. And the reason, because of that, is just a class that this one's going to bring in. But this horse is 1-for-11 lifetime, and obviously that one win was her first start at Kentucky Downs on September of 2014. So does the horse know how to win, Bob? I'm not sure. Is it a horse to fear because of the class and Javier Castellano and the trainer? Yes. But I'm just kind of hoping that this horse doesn't know how to win 1-for-11 lifetime.
So Andrew and I yet are on another horse that's the same. We're on the 3-horse Sunset Knoll at 10-1 morning line. We request that this horse be your tournament play no matter what. And as if Andrew mentioned, if we get 7-1 on this horse, you need to bet this horse to win at the window. So last and certainly not least, it's the world's richest race. It's the Dubai World Cup. It's race 9 at Maidan. Not sure when this race is going to go off, but nevertheless, get your popcorn ready and don't miss it. $10 million. It's 1.25 miles, the classic distance. And, of course, California Chrome is your 3-2 morning line favorite. Andrew, do you think this horse will end up being the winner at the end of the day?
Unfortunately not, Bob. And I know this is America's horse, and like we talked about earlier in the show, you always want to see horses like this just for the benefit of the sport. But 3-2 on California Chrome, who has faced pretty soft fields as of late, just not worth it. So I landed on number 2, Mission Wish, 8-1. Horse is in top form. 8-1 would be a gift. And Todd Pletcher's not shipping here. He's not going to win this race. I've watched the workouts. They're beyond exceptional. There's not much more to say. This is the horse to beat. 8-1.
Was a fan of this horse on the turf and looked to have a bright future on the turf. Now, I'm not saying that the horse was not successful on the turf, but did not live up to its potential, which the bar was set very high on the turf, and came over here to Dubai last year and ran well on the lawn after dealing with some foot issues. This horse is a freak show, and I think this horse has proven it since the first time it got on dirt. I mean, you're going to tell me that this horse's lone loss was to Tonalist at Belmont Park by a neck, a horse in Tonalist that has loved Belmont Park more than any horse that we've seen since probably Easy Goer. Then goes to Gulfstream Park and beats Valid, who's a horse for the course, and does it twice and looks even better in the Dawn Handicap. 5 furlongs and 58 his last workout. Todd Pletcher, and now I get Frankie Dettori, and you're telling me I get 8-1 on this horse. I believe firmly that this horse is the best older dirt horse in North America, and I believe that this horse will show it on Saturday and win this race. And if I get 8-1 or anything close to that, this is going to be the largest win wager I have made in 2016. I not only like this horse, I love this horse. And this horse is going to prove that it's better than California Chrome on Saturday in the Dubai World Cup.
Without doubt, Bob. And like you said, honestly, we're all very eager to see this one go. And 8-1, just an absolute gift. I just don't see California Chrome. Frosted's a very good horse, and don't get me wrong. And like the connections themselves have said, they just ran into the wrong year running behind American Pharaoh. So Frosted is a horse to respect. But I just can't endorse that horse at 2-1 either. So if you're telling me I can get Mishawish at 8-1 for Todd Pletcher, who wouldn't ship across the globe if he didn't think this horse had a chance, he's in top form, like I said before, working out just so exceptionally. There's not much more to say, Bob. I just think this one's the horse to beat.
Sky's the limit for Mishawish, and I think at the end of the day, I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. He's going to be Horse of the Year. But so he and I are again on the same horse. It's the 2 Mishawish in the Dubai World Cup, and that's going to do it for a fantastic tournament talk on the Tournament Edge for this week. We hope we have found you a plethora of winners. For Andrew Calvano, I'm Bobby Shoemaker, and until next week,